Let's talk about it.
Hello and welcome back to Thicc Radio, the award-winning podcast where we talk about gaining, feedism, and everything plus size. I'm James.
And I'm Tim, so let's get into it. Today we're welcoming to the show for the first time, we've got Leah.
Hello.
Hello, my love. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, of course. Listen, we were very excited to get the chance to talk to you because, listen, y'all, when we reach out to people, you never know what the vibe's going to be like. But from the moment we had that first conversation with Leah, she was a fucking delight. Just absolutely gorgeous and just such a lovely person to speak to. So we were really looking forward to this one.
Thank you so much. I've been really looking forward to it as well.
Of course. So I think as a good place to start for anyone who does not know you or your story, how did you come to discover the gaining and feedist communities?
So originally I started off on basically a camming site, and it was a BBW camming site, of course, and had people that would suggest Phoebes, of course, and I ignored it for a long time, and people's like, you should really join. You should it'll really help you. You'll have like a great community. And I honestly I was like, I don't know what that is. I don't want to keep joining things. And then one of my fans just eventually talked me into it, and I made a profile, and that's how I found Phoebes.
Nice. I mean, I love the story about how people can kind of come into and find these things. And obviously, we're going to talk a bit about what your journey has been like from then and how things are doing now. But I want to probe a little bit here. When you reflect on the journey you've been on so far, regardless of where you are right now, how do you feel about it? Do you feel at peace with the decisions you've made along the way? Tell us a little bit about that.
I think it's kind of mixed. It's more the fact that I wish I could have been more focused and times that I fell off. And I feel like if I would have stayed more focused, I could have been more successful in the community and content creating and stuff like that for the community. I felt like I achieved the gaining aspects. I feel like there are people that know that from me. I remember when I started off, I was around actually the weight I am now, and I got all the way up to around 425 pounds at my largest. So I felt interesting, I guess, is kind of the journey, the word is. It had its ups and downs, of course. I think that I don't regret it. I don't regret it. That's a big thing to take from it, because it's helped shape me to who I am, and it's helped me learn a lot about myself, and it's empowered me a lot through what I've been through. It was there when relationships failed me and broke my heart. It helped bring me up from when times when I was low. So I definitely have more love for it than no love for it. So
And you're not the first to say that. I mean, I believe, James, you on the show have credited, the gaining and fetus community with also helping you in times of, mental anxiety. And there's a lot of people that will turn to it for that reason, which is so bizarre to me when someone then comes along and tries to pseudo-psychoanalyze the community. It's like, well, you're all just disturbed and you have eating disorders. And it's like, if you knew how much that this had actually helped some people in a dark mental place, I don't think that you'd say that.
I don't think people understand that there's like a care and a nurturing side to this. And so there are days when I don't want to eat, I'm in my own mental space, and having someone to encourage me, hey, did you eat today? Oh, you didn't eat? Well, let me send you something so that you don't have an excuse not to eat. And then I'm like, well, I don't really know what I want. Well, this person that, they used to well, I already sent a pizza to your house, because we shared a pizza account and I trusted him with my address. And so even if I wouldn't do it and he'd send me the money, he'd be like, all right, well, I already sent it. You know what I mean? And so there's times when it's like there's that nurture and care to things that I don't think people really understand is there.
Mm. You know, we talk about this all the time when we reflect on how people outside of the community space see us, and it often just gets reduced to the idea of it being non-consensual, salacious, abusive, coerced, and uh, it's just fucking not. You know? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to take anyone's fears away from them because if you want to invest in that fantasy, like, I'm not going to take that from you. Go ahead and beat yourself over your head with your own stick. You know, you go right on ahead. I'm not going to save you from it. But, like, there is some true beauty in like camaraderie that can exist within the space. I've certainly had experiences with encouragers, and you know, I'll share here as someone who's had a history with mental health, as I think many of us have. I'm a stress starver by trade. Like, I've tried to be the stress eater. I've joked plenty in the past. If I was a stress eater, you bitches couldn't do nothing about me. I'd be massive. But I'm not. I'm a stress starver. And I have had instances in the past where quote unquote encouragement was the thing that actually got me to eat actual food that day. Like, notwithstanding if it was a pizza or if it was an indulgence, but like I hadn't eaten anything anyways because I was feeling so terrible that like I couldn't get myself up to do the thing. But because they had utilized a sex narrative to be like, ooh, fat boy's gonna eat food, you're gonna get this, you're gonna treat yourself to that. That was enough to get me out of a rut to be like, I'm actually gonna go ahead and like feed my body right now. So like there can genuinely be like a very affirming and caring aspect to like what we can do for one another.
And I think that's just like the biggest, like people who aren't in the community kind of like don't realize it's not just this like sexual fantasy. And don't get me wrong, there is a lot of that behind some things, but like I often tell people, and people hate me for it, but it's like I often compare it to like, what's the difference of somebody encouraging me to eat? Like, hey, you should eat today. Then like go into like your Italian grandma and her not letting you leave until you eat. You know what I mean? And it's a care and a love and a place that it's coming from. You know what I mean? Maybe there's not that sexual enjoyment from that Italian grandma, but she's gonna make sure you eat, like mine sure did. You know what I mean? And it's that care and that love, sometimes. And like I think that's what I really enjoyed from some of like my encouragers because I feel like they really got to know me, and some of them they know like they not only provided for me but they provided for my family in hard times, so I think that was really amazing of some of them too.
This comes back to something and you know what? If there's something I'm a flog on this podcast, it's this. Like, there is more to gaining than just the sex. It fulfills you sexually, but what does gaining do for you emotionally, spiritually, psychologically, and in this instance, physically, in a way that isn't about a sex gratification? Like, the stereotype of the Italian nonna. There are so many Eastern cultures in this world where food is seen as like the way to show you love. And
Yes.
we as gainers and feedies can absolutely appreciate that without it having to cross any kind of weird sexual boundary because there is more to the concept of love and quote unquote pleasure than just what does it do for me in a certain realm. Like there is some genuine good that can come from community and all that sense of positivity.
I'm very much a princess type. I learned this in my last relationship. He made it very clear to me that I basically need someone that's going to help care for me. And that was something I really needed. And it's something that we had early on in a relationship that we enjoyed, that blossomed in the beginning of a relationship. But as he grew to resent me gaining and growing, it kind of fell off. And that sucks. But I think like you have to definitely have an aspect of like also wanting to be cared for, wanting to receive, because there's people who like to receive and there's people who like to give, just like in our community. You know what I mean? So,
Now, I'm curious to ask here. So you were a feedie, but you no longer identify as a feedie, correct?
correct.
So, I mean, for lack of a better word, we like over on the sort of like gainer side of things, we say that that's maintaining. It's like you're not actively trying to lose weight or you're not actively trying to gain. You're just sort of like I'm just somewhere in the middle and I'm good with it. were you still a feedie when you decided to switch over to maintaining, or were you more of like a maintainer from the outset?
So when I remember reaching 350 was my original goal. And when I got to that goal, I was like, oh, yay, I made it. And I was ready to maintain there. But I had a lot of encouragement. It's like, why stop there and go to 400? And so I remember the first time I got there, I was I was single. I was living by myself, working two jobs, living my best life by myself. And when I got to 400, there was just kind of like nobody there to celebrate with me. Like everybody was kind of gone. And so at that point, it was just kind of like, well, I'm here. I guess I'll just maintain it. And so I kind of just maintained that for, I'd say probably maybe year and a half to 2 years. Yeah.
Over like on the all right, now let me start this over again. I keep saying over on our side of things because I'm a gay man creating that division. Like, why am I
Yeah,
doing
but
that?
like,
Why do I
but
keep
that's
saying that?
still it's still true though because like this is ultimately how our communities have been formed. It was not formed by us in particular for that reason. Like it was made by elders who wanted that division or felt that separation was necessary. But like, it's not your fault for that language. I don't
Yeah,
think there's
I
anything
feel
wrong with that
weird every
though.
time it comes out of my mouth to say over on our side of things. But I mean, when I think about like the fact that it's the same damn shit on either side of the fence. Anyway, the point that I was going to make, I've forgotten now. Fuck. I'm sorry.
It'll come back. It'll
It's
come
gonna
back.
come back. I got so tripped up on what I was saying that now I forgot what I was going to say.
Well, you know what?
Oh,
Let Oh, you got it? Go.
it came back, yeah. So when it comes to the maintaining side of things, over on our side of the fence, like if a guy has reached like 400 or above, or maybe like 3 to 350, and he begins to maintain, most people, yeah, I'm sure that they still get pressured to grow, but I feel like most people kind of like let them alone and like, oh, they're plenty big now, now they're something for me to look at. There's something for me to jack off to. But say you get the guy who only wants to get to 250 and then stop and be like, no, I'm good. I just wanted this bearish body. I'm happy where I am.
Hmm.
And I don't think that that gets nearly the amount of respect.
No, not at all. And I know that there are people that come into the community that are like, a buck 50, and at first I thought it was really odd. Like I was really confused. But as I've been in the community for more years, I've grown to like understand it more, that there are people who haven't always been, curvier plus size or struggled with weight that want to gain weight. So I had to learn more, I had to explore more. And so, yeah, I used to be like, why are these skinnies infringing on my community? You know, like,
But that's real though. It's real, and we only ever feel a sense of encroachment because ultimately the world. You know what? Just like what happened with Tim there in the conversation, like the world is built to be so siloed that in our minds we go, well, there must be firm borders of things. In order for this to be this, it has to at least achieve this, and all of this. And of course, what we're beginning to learn and unpack is that the human experience is a beautifully broad spectrum, and that in fact, in a society in which we know that fatness is brilliant and it's okay to be fat and to become fat, that is balanced with as much the reality and the desire to be thin and to become thin, to the extent that there is no inflection on either end of that journey, and we only feel attention because ultimately we're responding to a society in which that has been made into a tension, right? Um, so I think that concern or that like initial hesitation is actually very understandable. And especially as we were saying, the goals are never, oh, you're going to get to 200 and be absolutely massive and that's it. The goals are always you're going to be 700, fully immobile, ready to, like it's all on one end. We don't have enough conversation about about the other end of things, do we?
no. And there's plenty of people who they just want to gain 50 pounds, and like that's okay. Like that is okay if you just want to do 50. Like if that's what your goal is, then that's what your goal is. But I feel like there's a lot of pressure, and I definitely felt that for myself because I had never been intended to. I'm 5'1". You know what I mean?
Baby,
Um,
fight, talk about it. Like when you and the tall bitches will say they're very jealous when you're smaller because you can gain less and look bigger. Yes, you're absolutely right. But what that also means is if you are a certain height, being in the 200s looks and operates as if you're in the threes and 400s. And we just cannot continue this narrative of the numbers on the scale are the only thing that matters. That is an absolute fallacy. It disregards our humanity. Leave the
yes.
short bitches alone. Let us hit our goals and and be good with
Thank
that.
you. Oh my gosh, thank you. Because, like, that's been the hardest thing is a lot of people focus on a number. And it's like, why is the number important? Like, what about my physical appearance? Because that's always been my goal. Like, I wanted to fill out my curves. I wanted bigger hips. I wanted a bigger bum. You know what I mean? I wanted bigger boobs, and man, those have shrank. So I'm sad about those. But, I feel like it was just pushed. It's like, how bigger can your belly get? You know what I mean? And it's like, well, is it not big and cute already? You know? Is it not like great already? Like I'm happy with it. Are you're not happy with it? Like you don't see my happiness with it? Yeah.
We've talked many times on the show about the certain mentality that some people come to the community with, where it's dick in one hand and their other hand on the keyboard, and just like telling you to keep going, and then you know who they are because they always vanish as soon as they've come. Yeah, they're just gone. They're just like no more correspondence. They might even delete their entire profile. They might just
Yes.
vanish entirely after they get what they want.
Oh yeah, it happens all the time. Like they come, like you know that they've come because all of a sudden you're messaging and then you get the thing back says this count no longer exists and you're like, "What? What do you mean? You sent me a message 30 seconds ago. Like you must have come and then like you didn't even like you were still mid-rope when you were fucking hitting the block button. Like you weren't even done yet. You haven't done a single thing other than run the fuck away. It is it it's mad. It's mad. But you know what? I want to ask you about this, right? Because we're talking today, we're going to center on the maintaining aspect of this, right? Because as we were saying, the maintenance aspect of this journey never gets enough shine. And so we're going to dig into that with you today. Now, as you began to sort of accept you no longer wish to be an active feeder, you wanted to, and I think language wise, we can accept, we're going to call you a maintainer here. We're moving into maintenance. As you say, there's nothing really like that on the feedist side. So as you began to move into this new sort of phase as a maintainer, how did you transition your diet to be one of maintenance? Like, was there a very active decision, different choices being made?
So when I was a feedie, I'm just gonna say my biggest advice because I had to give people like, well, how did you gain so much? What was your secret? My secret was eating whatever the fuck I wanted, when I craved it. If I wanted it, I asked for it. And so when it came to the point of having to switch my diet to maintaining, it was no longer like, ding, oh, I want that. Oh, wait. I gotta stick within a certain thing today. Ding ding. Oh, I shouldn't do a gallon of ice cream today with the Butterfinger, toppings from the baking aisle poured on it. Like that was my thing. It was, well, maybe I should have, a normal breakfast now. Maybe I'll have kind of like I'll splurge for lunch and then I'll have kind of a normal dinner. You know what I mean? But of course, I'm gonna have my little snacks because that's hard to transition from. You know what I mean? So you had to like give up probably more in meals for maintaining. I'm a grazer. I've been a grazer feedie my entire career. So that was the hardest, was actually doing meals.
You were
Fair.
talking to two grazers right here. Like it's good to know that it's not that difficult to step away from because Lord knows it was difficult to step into, to try to be like, no, I have to be more of a piggy right now if I'm going to get enough in to achieve the results.
The push to
Ugh.
binge eat and the encouragement to binge eat that you get from the community, it can be overwhelming.
Mm.
The binge eating, I've only been pushed beyond my limits one time, and I just said after that time that I would never go beyond that, and my little fun fact is like I don't really have a gag reflex. And so for me to vomit, I was really pushed to my limits. You know what I mean? And so I remember I was recording, it was a live session. And so I was live camming with the guy. It was pizza, and he could hear me in the background. And I came back, and he's like, "Oh my God, I feel so bad," because I ran away from the camera. And I've never been one of those people to like eat and spit. I've always truly ate everything I've ever made content or anything so.
Well, I mean, I feel like maybe in a one sesh, that's easy enough to mask, but like, if you want to see the bitch get bigger, like, she's got to actually eat and feed the food down, like, people are putting in the hard yards with this. So, let's take this as a PSA to feeders out there. Please remember that if you want us to, like, consume the calories and keep them, please, let's prioritize some foods that are more, stable in the gut.
Yes.
And if I may add, mukbangs are not always like, don't use that as a reference, okay? Because people make that crap up. Like, that doesn't actually happen. So please stop thinking that gainers are capable of eating 5 gallons worth of fiery noodles. That's not possible.
They're literally not really even eating those 5 gallons of noodles. Like, and I'm like, man, so that was the biggest thing I definitely learned with the communities learning what to eat, because I was a big pizza person in the beginning, and bread is so heavy. But eventually I switched to chicken wings. My big people out there watching this will know me and my chicken wings. They're saucy and they slide right down, and they're lots of protein. So definitely, keep in mind too what you're eating, because I feel like that was good for my overall health too.
I mean, chicken is lean protein, so
Right?
I mean, and
I'm
the sauce
saying.
can't contain that many calories for the most part. I
That's
mean,
what
they're
I'm
all like
saying.
molasses and ketchup based, so I mean, yeah, there's some calories in it, but
Also, like, I gotta tell y'all, if you had like just some simple, and you could steam them if you really don't care, but you can steam just about any vegetable. If you drown that motherfucker in a cheese sauce, you don't have to worry about texture or flavor, because sure, it don't slide down easy if it ain't cheesy. I'm just saying, it's a reference to Everybody's So Creative, just so you'll know.
Yes. And I
Um,
still would eat those cheesy broccoli. Like, I will eat a whole bowl of that cheesy broccoli. You want to see
because
me?
it's fucking
And then,
good.
not to be too bad, but then afterward, if you want to wait an hour, I'll even gas it up for you on camera. Okay? Like,
Now listen, listen, Linda. I can appreciate a bitch who's willing to let the people have it and let them have it. So good for you. Good for
yeah.
you. But you know what? Like, I want to ask this. Yes, as you say, maybe it wasn't too much of a struggle to pivot, like food-wise. What about other changes? Like, were there other things you had to shift doing in order to like make the idea of maintaining more like feasible for you?
So I'm definitely one of those, like I said, I'm a grazer, so I definitely am one of those fat girls with the fat snacks beside my bed. I got my drawer down here. That still maintains. You know what I mean? I thought that would be something that I would change, but that's something I didn't change. But the biggest thing I think I did change was just honestly those meals, and like my mentality of like not giving in to every single craving and to giving in to every single request. Yeah, that was probably the top 3. I did not sacrifice my snack drawer though. That was not going anywhere.
so since going on this journey of now maintaining, like from like fans or from people on various social media sites, like do you still, and almost hate to ask this question, but like, do you still get harassed to like start gaining again, or do people ever come at you with like, after you've explained, no, I'm good where I am, I don't want to do any of this stuff anymore, they're like, oh well, you'll just give up eventually, at some point you're just going to start getting fat again, like do you get that?
Yeah, so I know that I've discussed a little bit with you guys, but like I went into the maintaining and I've been there for a really long time. And then I ended up having surgery. And so now that I've had surgery, people are saying, well, I hope you fail. I hope that you gain it all back. I can't wait till
Girl!
you get big again.
Oh my God.
I can't wait to see you do it all over again.
Yeah, people are trash.
You know what I mean?
Maybe.
People are like, why get a tummy tuck? You're just gonna get fat again, you know? So, yeah, there's definitely been some comments for sure. But there's been some really great people. I've had a feeder for 10 years now, and he's probably one of the best fans I've ever had. I would even call him my friend at this point. And he's been really supportive. And I thought he would probably be the least supportive, you know, because he's invested a lot of money into this body. You know what I mean? And he's actually been probably my number one cheerleader, probably out of everyone that has commented or supported me from the community. I send him pictures and he doesn't make comments about, oh, you look like you shrank. He just still says, oh, your booty's so big, you know, and it makes me feel wonderful
No, that's a
and
true
not like
friend.
I've changed, you
That's a
know.
true friend. You know,
Yeah.
that's someone that will be there for like no matter like because like you said, he's invested a lot of time and money into when you were on the feeder side of thing or feeding side of
Yeah.
things, you know, and you would think that you know, like you said, the fear would be like, oh, he's invested all this time and money, and now I'm going to tell him I'm going to lose all this weight. I mean, he's going to get so pissed at me, and like, it's. I mean, I don't know, the mental gymnastics one has to do in that situation in which like it's your own body, so you should be
Mhm.
able to do whatever the hell you want, but then you feel beholden to someone who has like helped you to get to a certain point. And I
Yes.
think the reason why this kind of thing raises such ire in people like me and James is because there's a million different things that can happen to you health wise. There's a million reasons why you could be gaining or losing weight. And people who don't know anything about the situation might see a picture that you posted and then they decide to just fire off with a comment,
Mhm.
and they don't know what's going on in your life, and you could be dealing with a life altering medical condition.
Yes.
And it's just there is a level of insensitivity that, you know, I know it's because we're all so disconnected because we're behind screens, but at the same
Mhm.
time it's like what happened there? Where did our humanity go with this?
You
Yeah.
know, it's just something that needs to be reminded to people because, and I love that within our community space, there is the option to make content and to generate an income that you can support people to that extent. I think that is a beautiful sentiment that exists. But I think too many people either get into it on the content creator side or on the supportive side without really thinking through what it means to engage in this process, right? Because everyone has full permission at any given time to change their mind and to walk it back because that's what's relevant to them there in that moment. If you're the feedee, you've got to be prepared to make that decision and stand by it 10 toes down because it's your life. No one's going to come and rescue you from obesity, my love. You've got to get your own fat ass out of that situation if that's really what that comes to. And then for people who are on the patron side of things, baby, if they want to lose weight, they want to lose weight. And you can sit there and feel some type of way about it, but you know what? That's literally that you don't get to make that decision. You've got to be willing to say, if I'm going to give this person that money, you've got to know that there is no return on that investment. You've got to give that as a gift, as a sense of, I'm giving you this in this moment, and and once it's out of your hands, it's gone. It's gone.
Exactly.
And if it comes back to you in the form of content at that moment, brilliant. And if that person decides to lose weight in the future, that's fine. Because when I buy a cheeseburger at McDonald's, I'm eating that cheeseburger in the moment that I eat it. I don't get to go to McDonald's and, 10 years down the line and say, 10 years ago, I bought a cheeseburger for $5 and I want that same cheeseburger again right now. Like, no, baby, this is a different product today.
Yep.
You're paying for this thing today. So, like, again, it brings up conversations that I think a lot of people don't want to have because a lot of people are too busy, as Tim said, joking in one hand, typing with the other, and we're not engaging the gray matter that happens between the ears.
Oh yeah. And see, he was there for when I was gaining, he was there for when I was maintaining. So like even when I was like I would just shoot him a message and be like, "You know what? I'm really craving this. I'm usually trying to be good, but I really want to be bad today. Will you support me being bad?" And he was all for it. You know what I mean? And I loved that he could enjoy that moment of badness with me. You know what I mean? But I mean, it came down to like I've had to transition through many phases now, but with him, like, he's got to continue his life. I remember he got married, he got a wife, he he's, I don't know if they've got to have children yet or not, but I'm sure that's in his future, but like I haven't got to have that. He's got to live his fantasy through me and have that, but because I've been the feedie, it's held me back from having that real life because this isn't what everybody wants. I'm a particular flavor while he lives that normal everyday life. It's just a different world for me. I don't just get to take my fat suit off at the end of the day and be a vanilla everyday person. Like, this is my life every day. I don't get to change it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You wear your body every single day. And it's the reality of being what we are. Again, we get into this because it fills us with a sense of pleasure and a joy, and it feels wonderful. But that does not mean we live in a vacuum where we aren't aware of the fat phobia that exists in the world,
Hmm.
where access challenges become into the bitch. When, what do the reports say? That like 70% of fat people say they faced like weight-related workplace discrimination. Like, that means you probably
Yeah.
aren't going to get that promotion. You probably aren't going to get to climb the ranks and do leadership positions, which means it's going to keep you in a lower pay bracket. It means that you're not going to be able to afford to be able to do as much with your life because of your size. And that's not a problem for you being fat. Yes, that is society's fault, but you don't get to opt out of society. So you've got to decide in that moment, what am I going to do with this? How do I fucks with this? How do I find balance? And therein, I think, lies the trick with maintaining.
Yep.
All of us need to find a way in how we stabilize our lives and move forward amicably with all of the factors that go on, you know?
I think it's about finding where you find your happy at and maintaining what makes you happy, not what makes somebody else happy. And I wish that I could have learned that sooner. I wish I could. If that was something I could go back and tell myself, that would be exactly it. Make yourself happy, what you want to do, where you feel good. Because I remember being at a point and looking at my body and loving what I was looking at, loving it. And I don't know why. Oh, I know why. I know why. Got those, mental health issues, but I let mental health influence me. So, but now, I've overcome and I'm working, I'm doing my therapies and all that good stuff. So now I feel like I really enjoy like the maintaining aspect and just adapting to something new, finding a new place in life, after I gained for so many years. And I really enjoyed that for a really long time. I think that's where people can find joy in too with maintaining. And when you do splurge, when you're maintaining, I like those little,
Yeah,
I was naughty today.
there's something kind of coquettish about it, there's something
Yeah.
very flirtatious in that. I think that like, because I've seen like gay men who are chubby who fit into the just chub category in the community who will sometimes do that, who will be like, oh, and they treat it as, this flirtatious kind of situation. So like, yeah, and we need to start getting more respect on the maintaining aspect of the community because you are still in the community, you're still valid. It just, I was going to ask, like, how do you feel maintainer fits into the community? But it's like it feels as if, for the most part, like people are trying to push you in one direction or the other, So, like, what do you think we can do collectively to like bring more respect to maintaining?
My first thought, honestly, is like, accept that I still like to eat. I still want to eat. I'm still a hungry bitch. I still want the food. I just don't want to gain from the food. You know what I mean? I still want to eat the food. I still want you to spoil me with the food. I still want to provide you with all the experience that came with that. My body, everything. I just don't want to gain. That's the only line. Like, that's it. That's just the line I'm drawing, you know?
I think there's something to be said, like, Tim, you'd mentioned a sense of coquettishness. Like, when you are in active gainer mode, and I imagine it's the same for feedies as well, like, the idea of eating big is no longer exciting or impressive. It just becomes your job. Like I was saying before, if I want to be fat, if I want to be fatter, I have to normalize the idea of all this excess and all this overeating because that's what you have to do to achieve the goals, right? But then,
Mhm.
like, the fantasy of being the big bitch who eats big and pigs out and has their belly hanging out of their shirt, burp, oh God, I'm so stuffed. Like, you don't get to have as many of those like fun moments, I think, because you're too busy thinking about like, have I consumed enough calories to hit my goals? And this becomes a conversation we've had on the pod about gainers who become obsessive over the numbers. I can't be happy at 399. I'll only be happy at 400. And it's like, no one's gonna know, bitch. Like a
And
pound
see,
difference at that size? What do you think is gonna happen? You know?
yeah, and see, like me, it's not even the number anymore. It's like I truly enjoy the act of eating. I enjoy like enjoying it with somebody, like that's always been like my biggest enjoyment was like sharing just, I don't know, food is just a love language for me. And so like I've never been the person to obsess on a number. It's just always like I don't know, like the experience. I'm an experience person, like stop thinking about a number, stop thinking about just enjoy the experience. And I think that's what a lot of hard, personally, I found with men, particularly like my ex really showed me that like men have a really hard time stopping and enjoying a moment and an experience. I don't know what the difference is. I'm not very like experienced with experiences with men like that. But when I've been able to have the experiences that I've had with people, I've had to like take a deep breath, enjoy the moment, turn your brain off. It's just me and you. Like I'm a very sensual person. And like eventually it's like taming a wild dog who's like going crazy and you're like, hold it. And you're like holding it down and you're like, I love you. It's okay. Quit shaking. And they just finally like let go. And I love when I can experience that with somebody in the community. That is like amazing. That is truly great because I feel like men get in this flow sometimes.
We're simple creatures. We're simple creatures. I can't defend the male gender. I never will. We are simple. We're trash. We're pigs. Like, I mean, we can evolve a little bit here and there. Like, we can be not that, but like for the most part, we're just simple, driven creatures.
Listen, I think that the simplicity is a choice because I think men could choose to be better in a great many regards, and it is a choice to not. But when it comes to pleasure, listen, I think we wear that on our sleeves. We are very direct, I would argue, as creatures. Like, I understand sometimes it's a question of like, is this person flirting? Is this person having a moment with me? But the reality is, for the most part, like you'll know it when you see it because like a man is not typically subtle. He's so
Nine times out
he's
of ten, even when you think he's not flirting, he is flirting.
he
Like,
probably he's just fishing and feeling out the situation to be like, is there a potential for something here? Oh goodness. But listen, I want to ask you here because this is such an interesting conversation in terms of like you are so clearly the thing. And it's so interesting to me, like, as the doers, right? The gainers, the feedies. It's so interesting when people could look at that and go, no, no, you're not going to stop. Like, that's so weird to me. What do you feel is the biggest misunderstanding people have lobbed at you with regards to this maintenance part of your journey?
I think like a lot of people who, I don't know, I've just heard a lot of people call maintainers boring. Like I've been called boring. Oh, that's so boring. But I'm like, to me, like I like it because like literally like I mentioned I have those like naughty moments. And you get to be a part of that. You know what I mean? Like when I'm supposed to be being good and maintaining and being this maintainer, I get to splurge and you get to be a part of that if you want to be a part of that. You know what I mean? It's not something to like hate or that we're not being a part of we are still a part of the community. We still want to eat. Still going back to that. We still want to eat. We're just eating not in a way to gain.
so where are you at now with your body goals, if any?
So, man, that's been really hard. I've been through a lot of different things the last several years. I had to choose my health first. After getting to 425 pounds, I faced true immobility issues with my knees, and I made a choice that I didn't want to be immobile. I didn't have the support in my life for that. I just can't get to that point in my life. I just don't have that ability. And so I maintained for a while, and then eventually I got weight loss surgery. So I am on the journey right now of losing weight. I'm a year out post-op right now, so I'm kind of in a spot where I'm freezing and I'm trying to figure out, do I maintain where I'm at again, or do I keep going? I'm trying to figure out what my goal is, and I really think that I want to shoot for the extra 60 pounds and go for the tummy tuck and go for that curvaceous body that I remember that I wanted in the beginning, that I started gaining when I was younger. Um, that was what it was for, So I just want to get back to the root of what I had originally wanted, which was my curvy body.
I feel like so many people, when they hear that, they know, oh, weight loss surgery. What are you talking about? Like, especially in this community. But so like, but you want your curves. Like, you essentially want the hourglass body just without a large tummy. That's it.
Yes.
And that is still plus size. That is still fat. That is still voluptuous. That's still overweight and still part of the community. Like, there are some women who gain that don't really ever gain it in their belly. They can gain it all in their hips, their butt, their breasts, and they've got their little
Yeah.
weight. Like, and how many men obsess over that one woman who has the gigantic ass? What is her name?
Gracie Bond, the
Yeah.
Panamanian ink. And
I
listen,
follow her. Yes, I follow her. Oh my gosh. And
yeah,
Raina Pop. Raina Pop. She's
Rain,
body
yeah,
goals. She is my
absolutely.
body goals right now.
Gracie Bond, my God, like
Oof.
as a gay man, I look at Gracie Bond and I'm like, would I? And I think I would. Like, because the body is incredible. Um, but it's but even that thing you say, it's like ultimately what has led to this decision? Health. And you've got
Yeah.
to think about the way in which it impacts you and how you live your life. Why? Because you are a human being who has to function in this world, and it would not matter if there were no health side effects. It wouldn't matter how intensely you wanted to grow or how big your goals were. If it's not feasible because you can't afford it and can't, ironically, maintain it on your own, then you need to make the decision that benefits you, the person. And if we as a group of people who enjoy this shit can't like respect the human behind the one who has to make those decisions, that's pretty damning on our sense of humanity. I'm just saying.
It I feel like if you want someone to be immobile, there has to be an infrastructure for them to be able to be immobile. You can't just encourage them to be so without knowing how they're going to be so. You know what I mean? And so I remember when I was first approached, there was a guy out of California and he gave me the promised land, We were going to have the oxygen lines from the ceiling, so I could travel around the house if I wanted, and a lift and, a mobile chair and all of that, And if that's your goal, go for it. But if you want someone to be like that, if you're going to want a relationship, if you're really going to encourage it, then be able to support it. And like I guess that's one of my peeves come from the community is especially like I've got my first profile banned because it was solicitation. You know what I mean? This kind of costs money to eat. I mean, I can't just, oh, I got food. I just inhaled it. Like that just wasn't free, was it? Like, I mean,
We were talking, were we not, right before we started this recording, where you were saying, I went to get some snacks to enjoy during this recording, and then I realized I'd eaten all my snacks. And I was like, nobody talks about the struggle of, oh, I taught myself to be a snacker, to be prepared for such instances, but now I've grown so fat that actually I need more snacks. And now I'm back to a position of I don't have enough snacks. Like, it's a struggle sometimes. Dang.
the whole like life circle here, right?
Oh my gosh. Well, listen, this has been a cracker episode, but I just want to ask you here, what advice do you have for anyone who is considering a maintenance phase in their gaining fetus journey?
I think the biggest thing I'm going to say first is remember your boundaries. I think that's really important. I wish I had the book right here in front of me, but I have a book that I read. It's called Unfuck Your Boundaries. And it has helped me really put like where I want to be. If you're going to maintain, you're going to get this pressure. You're going to get pressure. You're going to hear from people. And so you have to remember, what am I doing this for? What is my goal? The whole what, why, what, the whole W's, right? And prepare yourself to set your boundaries, But if you want to have a cheat day as a maintainer, don't feel guilty. Have one, enjoy it with somebody, enjoy it by yourself. Don't feel guilty, because I've felt guilt too. There's just so many sides to it. But yeah, I guess that's my biggest advice.
Leah, baby, this has been an absolutely fantastic episode. I just want to say a massive thank you to you for sharing your stories and experiences with us here today on the podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It was great having y'all. Lots of love to y'all.
Yay, thank you, honey. Now listen, where can the people find you online?
Oh, so I have changed my handles. So you can find me, probably the best right now is going to be theleahbubu on Instagram and TikTok right now. So that's my handle right now.
There you go. That's where you're going to find our girl. But listen, y'all, that is a wrap for now here on Thicc Radio. Please remember to like and subscribe. Rate us 5 stars. Leave us a good review. Now, if you liked this episode, the podcast, our guests, or just us in general, please share it with your friends and encourage them to tune in. You can find me on Instagram and BlueSky at stannnum.
And you can find me on Instagram at thiccymouse and Grommr at orpheus. You can also find us on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at Thicc Radio, or visit our website at podpage.com/Thicc Radio. If you'd like to become a financial supporter of the show, you can donate through our PayPal, and you can always email us at thethicradio@gmail.com. So until next time, bye, Fats.
Bye, Fats.
Bye, Fats.
Let's talk about it.
Thicc Radio is a Spotify podcast.
Artwork, media design, editing, and production by James Heinzen.
With original theme music by CYMK.